What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. This is a video, but it's also a conversation I want to have with these two people. I might be wrong, but I've worked with a lot of gaming companies, and I have a pretty good idea about how feedback should be handled. Now, Kralo on the right is the Madden community manager. It's my opinion that his responsibility is to vet community feedback and provide credible changes that need to be made to Clint, who is the gameplay producer that would then ensure that gameplay changes got made to improve the game for the user experience, thus making the game better. This means if someone approached Kralo and said, there's not enough pink rabbits in Madden, that would never get back to Clint because it's not tangible feedback. It's not meaningful. Instead, Clint would only get feedback that matters. Now, when this process works correctly, you see something like this. Player switching logic doesn't feel intuitive. The beta had some changes to player switching. The more it was tested, the more negative consequences were saw. So they've removed those changes, and they will go back to Madden 20 and the concept they used then, or a legacy concept, for player switching logic. This shows you the feedback was offered, the consequences were explained, and the end result was, we're going to revisit how to improve the game later, but we're going to go back to a system that we know works now. You have to constructively understand what's being presented to you beyond face value, because those playing the game often don't know how to program a game. So when we move forward, you can see when this is broken. Most upvoted feedback, meaning this is what the most people were talking about. User defense feels slow or sluggish. It's important that you understand the first thing stated here is feedback around this was consistent, meaning everyone was talking about issues they had. They go on to say the speed at which defenders change of direction will largely be unchanged. And they state because the gameplay balance needs to be focused on more authentic player movements and strategic decisions, they're not going to make any changes to how slow the players move on defense. The problem is, as you read this, you better understand what gamers were actually stating. The intent of the system is to reduce the area of the field a single defensive player can cover based on ratings and direction changes. So essentially, they go on to say they want to encourage the gamer to make smarter decisions about the routes they want to take away on defense and not essentially run aimlessly around the field. If you simply take that feedback at face value of the defense feels slow, the appropriate response should not be, well, it's slow because we want you to have better decision making and people were exploiting by covering too much of the field. Now, I will offer to you that they have actually addressed this in other areas differently, which shows the disconnect between a community manager and the community and the game getting better. So they talk about fatigue penalties for scrambling quarterbacks. And in a nutshell, beyond what's just shown here, there's been a determination that as a quarterback scrambles, he would have fatigue penalties, including to his ability to throw the ball, to make sure that the offensive player stays in the pocket more and plays as a conservative quarterback to not exploit the AI logic and run outside the pocket. If you take that same approach constructively and understand better what the gamer is saying, or visually look at what the gamer is showing you, we are not saying to you the defense is too sluggish. We are saying to you there needs to be a penalty for those who run around the field on defense and cover multiple routes. The same way there is a penalty for offensively quarterbacks who do the same thing. So if you think about your field general as the quarterback on offense and the linebacker on defense, there should be similar penalties for those players as they run all over the field. So why are they not taking the feedback that's given and constructively applying solutions to make the game better? So that feedback about the slow and sluggish players should instead be interpreted as any defensive player that covers more than 3 zones in a certain time frame will be given a penalty because it's clear the player is just running around the field. Any player that covers more than 2 players in man coverage will be given a penalty because it's clear they've went off more than one assignment and are simply freelancing. That is a much better interpretation of what gamers are saying than the players are slow, we're going to leave it this way, make better decisions. That is what actually helps accommodate balanced gameplay. Because your field generals on offense to defense are given similar penalties when doing the same thing. Now, why someone who has a YouTube channel can take this feedback, extrapolate it, and try to determine ways to make this game better, while 2 people who get paid to do this and literally have nothing else to do in their day can't, I don't know. But the reality is, if you actually look beyond what the community is saying, if you understand that we do not know how your game is programmed or how to program your game for you, and you constructively look at the detailed feedback that is given, you can create solutions to make your game better instead of saying, well, now we're going to leave it the same. And in 2 issues here, it's absolutely validated that a change was failed when trying to improve the game, and it will go back to Madden 20 style, and a change was not made even though the gamers asked for it to be done, because EA does not have enough constructive or creative thinking to come up with a solution for the problem the gamer has. That's a real problem. Less time designing X Factors and Superstar modes, and more time constructively thinking ways to make your game more difficult based on what the gamers are telling you they want in their product. Now, the reason I mention all this is I've dealt with many game developers. Many of them actually take feedback in its simplest form and ask you questions to help you better understand what they need from you to improve their game. If you go to a credible gameplay programmer, not a gameplay designer, not a community manager, and you express to them an issue you have with their game, they will not tell you nothing can be done or we're going back to the way things used to be, but rather, oftentimes, they'll give you an overload of information as to why changes can't be made without severely impacting other areas of the game. It's then up to that programmer to make a determination of how they can create something that aids in fixing the user's problem without damaging other aspects of the game, and in most cases, will create a better or more challenging experience for the gamer. The fact that that is not happening here, even when the feedback is being given, and they're willing to show us that they simply took the most basic of feedback, applied the most basic of concept to it, and then rather than try to come up with any type of creative solution and just decided to say, okay, this didn't work, we're going to go back to what we had, or this didn't work, play the game, this is why we want it this way, tells me all I need to know about why this game feels the same year after year after year. Sit down and constructively try to balance your game. Get a select group of gamers that are playing your product. Look at what they do to make the game unrealistic, and then find ways constructively to limit their ability to do that. And that will help you improve your game, Clint and Kralo. Not doing that going back on changes or removing things from the game because you don't feel that they're applied incorrectly does not better the game, does not help the community, and is not giving us a better product. You need to have people that are designed to test this game, that can speak in a language that you understand, that can then convert it to a language a programmer can understand. And you're all in different paid positions at EA to do this, but it's clear this year more than ever, as all of this information is transparent because you're not in the same building, those processes are not playing out correctly. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking it out. I will be back in the week with more commentary.